evening, America. Channel 00 Chico is on the air. I'm your announcer, Philip Pino, filling in for the regular announcer, who would rather be cleaning out his garage than taking advantage of this highly lucrative volunteer, never get a penny, never get paid announcer job.
Come and listen in to the radio station where the mighty host of heaven sings. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. If you want to hear the songs of Zion coming from the land of endless spring, get in touch with God. Get in touch with God. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on and listen to the music in the air. Turn your radio on.
Welcome back to the Breakroom. I'm your host, Marty, and again, another 15 fun minutes of humor and information, not necessarily that order. We have a good show for you, we believe. My friend Eddie is going to join us, so that's always good to have someone to talk to as opposed to a damn camera for 15 minutes. One thing I did want to talk about briefly was, those of you who might have seen the trailer I put out that was advertising this channel. And I had my friend, Julian, who's also my wife's cousin, take a look at it. We used to work on my show together, and so he's a production guy, and he watched it and said, "That's creepy. It's really creepy." And I said, "Why is it creepy? Am I creepy?" He says, "No." He says, "But at the beginning of it, you talk about how you want to, find something, and then it shows you singing like a girl, and you're in some kind of scary-looking basement, like from the Deer Hunter, and some hand comes in from the side like a bondage hand." He said, "It's just creepy." I said, "Oh shit." He said, "I shouldn't put it out." He says, "No, it's great. Put it out. People will love that shit." So, so much for that. We need to take a look at everything, make sure everything's up and running. So we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on and listen to the music in the air. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on and glory share, glory share. Turn the lights down low. Turn the lights down low and listen to the Master's radio. Get in touch with God. Get in touch with God. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on.
Okay, we're up and running just fine. I got the okay from the guys in the remote. Kind of interesting on the show today, you actually get an opportunity to see the whole set. For the last couple of shows, you've just seen me primarily in this position here, but I have an area over here too. And my first guest on the show is my good friend Eddie. So this is the whole set, and this is Eddie. Say hi, Eddie.
Hey there, what's going on?
This is what the set looks like. Not just, like I said, my chair. It actually expands out to the left a little bit, so there you go. Eddie and I have known each other for probably, I'm thinking 4 years. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, 2018, 2019. Yeah.
20, yeah. And we used to work together. We had a few things in common. I mean, we have 40 years between our ages. How are you, 24?
24?
24.
So about 40?
Yep, and so there was nothing there, but again, we had a lot of things in common. Eddie used to work for the FBI. What did you do for the FBI?
Clerical and administrative assistant.
What means what exactly?
I do all the work nobody else wants to do.
Like a gopher or something, or how's that work?
No, kind of like, the office printing bitch, I make the copies.
Is that what it said on your badge, printing bitch or something?
No, it said administrator.
Oh.
Okay.
And how long did you work for them?
A little under a year, but it was something I preferred, and it was what I wanted to seek out. So.
Do you actually go to them, or how's that work? How do you get involved in the FBI?
You apply. There's fbi.gov/careers.
Really? Did you have anybody else in your family that was FBI, or it just seems like kind of a far-out job?
I always was interested in that sort of thing, like, law enforcement. But obviously I never had any police background or military training, so I thought the least I could do was do administrative work, and that'd be a foot in the door, and then things took a turn, and I ended up at Macy's with you.
Great. Eddie also is a musician, and that was one of the things we first kind of touched base with. Guitarist primarily, although you play bass also, right?
I tamper with bass a little bit, and then also some keys. But
Are most bass players like frustrated guitarists? Is that right? Have you heard that before?
I've heard the expression, but I'd say that's slightly reductive. I'd say they're more so depressed guitarists.
And what kind of music were you into?
My parents, they mostly introduced me to like Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, classic rock sort of thing. And then from there, it devolved into metal.
Of course it does. It always devolves into metal. You mentioned that you actually played bluegrass or country with your uncle or something.
My grandfather.
Tell me about that.
He was really big on country and bluegrass music. And he was actually the first person to introduce me to instruments. So for that, he had this old guitar from a brand named Schaefer. And it was just, well, yeah, there you go. He bought it at a music store that used to be in the Point Bay Hills Mall.
Oh, wow, you went way back.
Yeah, like before the koi pond.
Yeah, right.
But he introduced me to stringed instruments and music in general, and those were kind of like my first exposures to actually playing instruments. Was his like walking guitar and chicken picking and all these other country and blues techniques.
So chicken picking is a way to actually play.
That's a way to play.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a method to use all your fingers to actually pluck away strings individually.
Let's talk about music a little bit. It was something I mentioned a little bit on the last show I did. I was talking about the song from Oliver Anthony, the Richmond, North of Richmond.
Yeah.
You've heard it.
Of course.
You've seen the video maybe even? Or
I
just
have.
heard
It looks very poor.
I guess it's what's considered a political or a protest song. Primarily he's talking truth to power.
Right.
Right? What did you think of the song?
That was quite enjoyable, relatable to some level. It's not something I generally listen to for music purposes, but
Right.
for the message itself, for the meaning and principle behind it, I get it. And as someone who kind of, centers themselves at the right, not exactly to the side of Genghis Khan, but...
Do you think it's a song for the right or an anthem for the right?
No, I think it's more a song for people who make under six figures a year. And people who don't have the same opportunity, financial stability, or income that some people have.
So is the American dream gone?
Well, that would be a separate discussion altogether, but it is definitely not what it used to be.
I heard somewhere that the American dream has moved to Canada. I don't know if it's true or not. Maybe it has. I think a lot of people were kind of blown away by it because it was a protest song. You don't have a lot of protest songs or political songs nowadays. I grew up with Bob Dylan, Joan Baez, that kind of stuff. In your generation, I'm sorry, I'm not going to pin you down. The Z generation doesn't have any protest songs, doesn't have any kind of truth to power. Is your generation okay with the world?
Oh no, we just don't want to do anything about it. There are some people that claim themselves to be, righteous and say they're all for change and everything, but all they do is repost something on Instagram and hope for the best. And that's not, revolution. That's not activism. That's just trying to make yourself feel good.
Do you think it's funny? I saw something recently. I guess it's the 50th anniversary of rap music being created or invented back in '73, right? Back in New York. And the guy was talking about the first rap songs were protest songs about, again, truth to power. They were talking about, the situation they were living in and how it sucked. Rap is now changed completely into...
Be quite opposite of that.
Yeah, it's almost self-aggrandizing a lifestyle that maybe isn't,
I know.
a career path.
Right.
And he found it just kind of sad that there was nobody out there. And he's right, there's nobody out there talking about what everybody feels. Gas is too much, food is too much. How much does it cost to live somewhere? So, is there a reason why maybe your generation also is not concerned about those things? Are they concerned about the environment? But they just don't want to talk about it, or they don't want to act on it, like you said?
I will say there are some that are. There are some that are concerned that will actually want something done, but actually won't set in motion anything to get it done. If that makes sense.
Are there any leaders in your generation?
Yeah, no.
Nobody that you would see that is like a spokesman for your generation?
Not unless you count like, modern,
TikTok stars.
Celebrities or influencers.
But nobody like that's political or socially motivated to improve the world or improve their generation.
Not at all, because I think my generation's view of the world is nothing bright, it's nothing colorful, it's very negative, it's dark. All we do is, a lot of folks in my generation, myself and guilty of, is that we just kind of doom scroll on our phones, and we see what we like, we double tap it, and then we go to the next one. Our sense of activism is just pressing a button that puts it on our page so that other people can see it, just to get the word out. But beyond that, what else?
Wow. It sounds kind of disheartening to think that, by the time you get to be my age, God forbid, this world could be worse shape than it is now.
Or not be here at all.
Or not be here at all. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, we've got craziness going on in Europe. Our country is divided more than it ever has before.
Polarized for sure.
Polarized for sure. We had talked about something that I read in the news. My daughter, my youngest daughter, lives up in Oregon, and she was telling me something about that. She had read or heard about, I guess, in the grapevine, that the eastern part of Oregon wanted to secede. Is that what? Secede to Idaho. And you're familiar with Idaho. What is Idaho like?
Idaho is what I would classify as my definition of the American dream. Folks are pretty wholesome up there. They enjoy the country they live in. They can have debate, not argument. And there's a fair amount of, some rich folks who bought ranches out there who have a bit more leftist ideologies, but most of the folks there are, I would say, center-right to mid-right. And occasionally you will find your, Genghis Khan types out there. But still, they're genuine people. They're not all about the hustle and bustle. And they're not what I would say my party classifies as coastal elitist. And I say that in air quotes. So,
what do they call California? Or LA?
Oh, they call it California.
California.
Yes.
And these people are primarily like ranchers, or they're people that are out in the country. They're not really in the city, correct?
No, there's suburbs, there's cities,
okay.
There's buildings, commerce, culture.
Uh-huh.
But there are other parts where it is like that. Where your nearest neighbor is 60 meters that way.
The idea about switching or taking over a state to be more in line to your beliefs sounds crazy to me. I mean, if we start doing that, then we're going to turn into an East Coast, West Coast, middle of the country being a certain way, which it pretty much is now. You've got the coastal, progressives on the coast, and in the middle you've got a really big swath of conservatism that is happening in this country.
If that's the case, we'd be more aligned with Canada because they're separated in provinces.
That's true.
In actual states like we are. At that point, why be the United States? Why not be the United Federation of different political beliefs?
It's a possibility. We are getting close to getting done with this particular show, but we're going to have Eddie back. Stay right there, and we're going to make this a two-parter. So we'll continue this conversation. So again, thank you for joining us here on the Break Room, and we'll see you next time here on the Break Room. Adios.
Brother, listening to the Gloryland chorus, listen to the glad hosannas roll. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Get a little taste of joys awaiting. Get a little helping in your soul. Get in touch with God. Get in touch with God. Turn your radio on.
By the way, just on a side note, if any of you have a garage that needs cleaning, please contact the station immediately.